is going on, everyone? We are back with our review of Season 2,
Dragula.
Episode 2 of Dragula. I'm
Very
Depraved.
exciting. I'm Hellcat.
Together we are.
Hella Depraved.
Yes, we are.
The infamous paper.
Man, this was a great episode. Like,
It is...
but both, it's also infuriating.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites and one of my least favorites at the same time for that exact reason. And honestly, the rest of the season gets
better.
Stupendous from this point on.
Even though we still got... Okay, there's how many episodes? 8 episodes. We've done 2.
Yeah, but the dynamics
So that
between
leaves 6. And I do like the episodes, but 3 of them are things that I'm just not a fan of that they do, for sure. I'm not a fan of the next week's episode.
Oh, you mean just the competition?
Just the competition.
Yeah. The categories.
I'm not a fan of the Monsters of Rock, even though this one specifically is actually really good.
This is a really good one. But yeah, overall, it's not your favorite at all. And
then I'm also not a big fan of the 2-part episode where they go out to Vegas.
Oh, which I like a lot. But
and do the Mad Max shit.
Yeah, they do the Women of the Apocalypse. But the group dynamic between the girls is so much better after this episode. But I love how this episode ends in terms of the girls and the dynamic and how it gets sort of resolved, and or at least dealt with. Yeah.
I love the competition in this episode too. It's a ghost town thing.
Yeah, no, I do like it. Yeah.
And I am not a fan of westerns themselves.
But anything spooky and haunted, I'm there for.
However, they do none of them really go with the Western motif 100%.
None of the girls,
The closest, I think, is probably Abora, but it's definitely more of a cartoon-esque.
I don't know, because you get a lot of saloon-type girl looks. So they do to a degree. But
maybe I just don't mind it if they look dead.
Right. I think that's part of being a Dragula super monster. Is being able to associate with the living dead.
I don't even know what you're chasing, but I hear it rattling around.
But being a living dead girl, basically.
Alright, so this is called Apparitions of the West. That's the name of the episode. And in the intro, the Boulets show up. No, not the Boulets. The Boulets... yeah, that's the intro. Never mind. Tripping. The Boulets in Israel break into a place. We don't know what it is. I thought it was a morgue at first,
in their
but it's
gorgeous
not.
Little cat suits. It looks like
they look like a couple of Black Widow esque.
But yeah, it struck me as like the plot of lands that they're using to bury the bodies.
Right, and they dig up a body and then reanimate it. Here's my problem, and I wrote it down here. I'm not sure who it is or what they do.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's another
boy... Or why they do it.
Yeah, it's another boy toy like Israel. And I forget because...
But I don't remember if it ever plays into anything or if they start showing up.
He doesn't in that episode. I believe he starts showing up not with Israel's job, but as another silent male.
Right.
For part of the season. But honestly, my biggest problem with it being the intro for this episode...
He's not in it again.
There's no follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like a Frankenstein's
He's not
monster.
Even in the outro.
Yeah, he's not.
I feel like even if they weren't going to use him for this episode...
Maybe have him be the one that kills whoever it is.
Exactly. Just something to involve him back in. But yeah, so, it was a cute little skit, though. I really enjoyed the skit in terms of how quiet they were trying to tiptoe in their stilettos and then telling Israel to hurry up after his first shovel. Yeah.
We open, after the intro theme song, we open with our non-elimination challenge ladies. So all of the ladies that absolutely were not on the chopping block.
Last week.
As well as 3 people from the elimination challenge, who I think were the winners of their specific duels.
Right.
Would be my guess. Oh, no, that's this week that they're duels. Last week the elimination challenge. That's right. I'm mixing up who the elimination challenge was for this week with last week.
Oh, yeah, it was the pins.
It was the people with the pins. So everybody that wasn't in the elimination challenge is riding along on this real bumpy, almost hayride-esque truck.
Open back truck, yeah.
And
they're
basically
getting thrown around and
dumped, quite literally, into a ghost town after a rough ride.
Right.
Most think it's actually a pretty even slate across the board on who they all thought was eliminated.
Right, which actually I didn't remember from previous watch throughs that they mention that Felony, the attitude afterwards was defeated and just sort of done, and that's why they thought she was going to go home. The ones that thought she was going to go home.
Right, and I'll get into that in a second. Erica and Monique end up arriving and going on about their challenge specifically,
showing
or
their war
the
wounds.
challenge and showing off all the stuff. Now, with that being said, that was something I wanted to talk about. Even with Felony being down, now obviously this is a common theme throughout the show, right?
Defeatist attitude sends you home.
It's like the moment you start to feel defeated, they send you home. But again, I feel like this wasn't even his fault, her fault. I still put this one on the Boulets because of, for whatever reason, you're so down on these boots that I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have brought them on the show if you felt that that's what their drag represented.
Yeah.
So they had to have brought these boots out for one specific show.
Well, yeah, because I feel like her death suit was much closer to what Felony's drag probably is like.
Right. And then on top of it, again, she represented more to me
a Cenobite
of what a
than the
Cenobite
other two.
was than not even just the other two, but 2 or 3 others
that were safe.
Yeah. And it's quite literally the boost that dropped them down. So yes, I too would feel down if that was me. Like, I did everything I thought I needed to do, and you can even take it as they could have they were right. I probably should have shown more open chest so you could see the blades, maybe put some on my face, and I get that. But for people to be so down on a pair of shoes,
yeah,
I would have been upset too. Now, still, for people moving forward, and we'll see this consistently throughout the series, the moment you even relatively think that you're not doing well, you get eliminated. We saw it with Foxy last season.
Right. Now, Foxy did have a couple episodes.
We'll see it. We'll see it again this season.
Yep.
Dolly, that's why Dolly leaves.
Yep.
Except I think Dolly willingly leaves. I think
but
Dolly's
it's
was
still
a choice. But it's because she feels defeated.
She feels defeated, and so she doesn't really partake in the elimination challenge.
Right.
By choice. But yeah, it is because she felt she was done for this round. And then, again, is brought back because she thought it was the biggest mistake of her life to not move forward. Yeah,
but
yeah.
We'll get there eventually. Now, after that, we actually get some backstory on Monique that almost makes me feel bad. Monique goes on to explain how her mom basically unalived herself. And that is why she has no other fears. She said that is the worst thing she's ever experienced, and nothing has come close to that.
And I can see that.
Which makes a lot of other things make a little more sense in terms of other stuff that she's dealing with.
Wants to disassociate from life, yeah.
That was done in an interview. Was that? I don't remember if that was an interview or if she actually said that to the other ladies.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head. So then the Boulets show up. Let me show you guys a picture of the Boulets.
Yeah, they arrive in style in their pink caddy with their parasols and these wonderful red ball gowns. A pink, pussy pink. So cute.
So yeah, the Boulets show up in a topless Cadillac.
Although if they try and sell me Mary Kay products, no.
And they basically say, as you know, this week your challenge is Ghost Town Ghoul, which is the first time that we're ever let in on the fact that they're let in on early and know what they're getting themselves into. And I'm glad they finally did this, because one of our complaints last season was they almost always made it seem like that's the first time they're finding out when they're face to face, and that's not the case for most of it. at least, like I said, this way it's like they're straight up saying, hey,
you already knew.
You knew what you were getting into. That's why some of you are dressed up as far as you are now.
Right. But they also say, we're going to give you the time to explore this place because it is supposed to be haunted. It's at least abandoned. To potentially inspire you, which tells me that the base makeup that they have on, the base ideas that they have for their costumes, they still had enough time to, maybe a couple hours, to edit whatever they had to fit surroundings. Yeah.
And then they go on to tell the contestants to be prepared because it's going to be 100. It's going to be 100 degrees. And then
hydrate, girls, hydrate.
We get my favorite quote of this episode, and I wrote it word for word. I had to rewind it a lot to make sure I got it all right.
Right.
Drac Morta with my favorite quote of the week says, "Now, in all honesty, if you really are feeling physically exhausted or like you might collapse or something, I want you to feel free to come over to our trailer, knock on the window. There's a lot of air conditioning in there. We'd like to come out and take a look at what a real pussy looks like before you die."
Right. It's a fabulous line.
Fabulous line. An absolute fabulous line. All right. So then, after the quote, my favorite quote of all time, they go into the boudoir.
Right.
Which, by the way, is technically new this season. I don't know if we mentioned that before. The boudoir was added as a...
Yeah, we did.
A new thing that actually happens.
They now have a room versus a closet.
Right.
Yes. But this is like a tent because they're on location. Yeah.
And this week's boudoir
is
so actually a combination of some really good things happen, but a lot of really bad things also happen. So we also get a little bit of Erica Clash's backstory, and she goes on to explain how her dad was a pastor. And she doesn't go into detail, but she does mention that her dad did really bad things to her mother and her. Now, obviously, we don't know if that is of an SA nature.
Yeah.
Or if it's just physically abusive or mentally abusive or anything like that. We don't know the full scope of what it is because she doesn't go into it. Either way, it's wrong. Don't.
We're not trying to downplay it. We just don't know.
We just don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But she does bring it up. At this point, James and Monique go out to address their issues. James tries to pull Monique out. And I hate this moment personally because I feel like both of them are so just disingenuous about the whole situation
with each other.
Because James openly admits during the interview section of it that they're doing it so that they don't feel burdened. And it's like, that's not a reason to do it. A reason to do it is if you really want to move forward with trying to be friends and stuff. And Monique feels James is being completely fake about everything. And if I remember correctly, Monique goes on to eventually blow up on James during the Last Supper.
Yeah.
That happens later on.
Does. Yeah.
But yeah, Monique feels like James is just doing this because she feels obligated to. Like she's just trying to relieve some pressure off herself.
I know, but that's during the interview, and honestly, at the time, Monique plays into it too. So neither of them are innocent in this whole fate.
That makes me wonder. This goes back to my problem with the show in its current form, because this is pretty much how it works from moving forward, right?
You didn't interview him in the moment.
So we don't know if Monique was being honest in how she felt during their conversation, or if because of how everything played out.
Yeah, I don't think she was being honest because she didn't really join in the conversation either. She was just sort of more like accepting James's apology, and that was kind of the whole thing felt fake.
Right. This is one of the few times that it actually. Now, I don't think this happens in the show. It might. But this is one of the few times that it actually felt like this was more of a produced meeting.
It felt like it. I don't think...
Where they might have been told, hey, you guys need to go out and work this out so we can move on with the show and things not be weird type of thing. Almost like when two kids don't like each other and you try to sit them down and you're like, hey, you have to apologize to each other.
Honestly, I feel like it happens enough in the show just over the seasons that it is probably something that's brought up. I don't think that they micromanage what happens from there on because they like cattery. So, I mean, if they blow up at each other, it's just as much fun. But, yeah, I think it is sort of a push.
While they're outside talking, this is where shit gets really bad.
This is where I'm not amused.
Everyone, except for Erica,
goes in on bitch.
Goes in.
And that does actually include James and Monique.
Yeah, James and Monique eventually come back.
They almost start it.
Well, no, they started... Everyone goes in on bitch before James and Monique get back. When James and Monique get back...
It gets worse.
It gets worse because then they go in on her look this week. Everything else was just how everything happened last week. Because, like, they were arguing back and forth. Dali was involved. Everyone was involved, basically. And Dali comes from a very weird position of... You can tell Dali grew close with Abora really quick. So she's just believing everything Abora says.
Yeah.
And obviously we see a change in this specific aspect from Dali later.
Yeah.
I don't think it's this season. I'm pretty sure she
Dali, yeah, she does. But she totally, by the time she comes back, has matured has found peace with herself and how she wants to present herself. Has kind of changed up her own personal style in her quiet moments even.
Right.
You know, it's just her focus. She's very focused on her career and her goals. And in this, it feels like she's just not focused.
Right.
However, she does state several times, I don't know you, I don't care to know you, I don't want to... Like she's over this shit, but she still involves herself with it.
Right.
And Abora is a horrible perpetrator of it, and she flat out tells bitch,
I just want you
I don't
gone.
care. Like, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care if you're correct and I'm wrong, basically. I don't care about any of it. I don't want to accept your apology. This is a competition, and I won't accept your apology because I want you gone. Which, by the way, she didn't owe Abora an apology, in my opinion.
No.
A lot of the shit that Abora is mentioning should have been mentioned at the time if she truly felt uncomfortable with it. But we get the feeling later on in this season that it's not so much she was uncomfortable with it at the time, which is why she didn't mention it, as her boyfriend was toxic and gave her shit about it for so long afterwards that it became a problem. Right. But I think it is just... She's got her knickers in a twist over the fact that bitch is also from Georgia and is also in the competition. And I will go back to the phrase that she said that very first day, that honestly that's what it comes down to. And I honestly think that was the most candid we get from Abora about this whole situation.
Right.
She's just being a twat. That's all.
Everyone continues to go on bitch in her reuse of last week's latex looks.
And I'll say, she stays civil. She doesn't blow up. She doesn't tell anyone off. She tries to, like, downplay the argument, get everybody calmed down. Like, she offers her apology to Abora, even saying, like, this should have been mentioned then, but I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. It's a shit show, and I feel so bad for her, and I hate it.
I feel like...
Hi, baby.
The one thing I can agree with the girls on overall with involving bitch was...
reusing the face?
Not just reusing it, but trying to do the whole, oh yeah, I'm a drowning victim. Because no, you're not. That's not what a drowning victim would look like.
Right.
However... now, it was a backwards help. Like, they definitely were making fun of her for it.
Oh, they weren't even just making fun of her. They were flat out bullying her over it.
Right.
But the problem is hypocrisy, ladies. Hypocrisy.
Right.
Do not complain about somebody else's look if yours is not 100%.
Right.
And Monique would be one of the biggest perpetrators of that for this episode.
I would also say I don't think Victoria joined in on much of it.
No, Victoria was pretty much quiet.
So Victoria, Erica...
Disasterina.
And Disasterina all pretty much stayed to themselves.
Yeah,
which is funny, because I'm pretty sure they're the three that win this week.
They were really funny about, like, some of their prior comments about stuff that happened in the last episode, about not winning, about Disasterina's always funny, but, like, yeah, they stayed out of this drama.
Right. So Erica
did offer support. I will say that.
Yeah. Then we get introduced to our first or our only guest judge of this episode, which is Miss Kitty.
I love it.
I have no clue.
She looked so fabulous, especially
she rode
riding in on the horse.
I tried to get a picture of her on the horse, but there was not a good shot.
Fabulous entrance. Fabulous.
Here's my thing. It says on the thing that she is Hollywood nightlife royalty. Outside of that, I have no clue who she is.
I think
she's one of the celebs that I just don't know.
Yeah, but I think she does some of the event management type stuff, party planning. But they said that she's one of their first monsters that they created, so I'm pretty sure she's one of the ones that hung around with them. Right. You know.
So then we get to the floor show, and I will show them off in order that they appear, because I was actually able to do that this week. We start off with Abora, who's rocking the bank robber gone bad look.
And remember, this is supposed to be Western haunts.
Yeah. After Abora, we get Kendra Onyx.
Her rat was the star of this outfit.
Rats. There were
star
multiple.
Of this outfit.
Obviously trying to show off the bubonic plague victim, plague-ish victim. A lot of people used boils. That's a thing for this week.
Right.
Then we've got Disasterina, who was going with what appears to be almost like somebody who might have done bad things to their own children.
Either that, or she had a bunch of miscarriages or abortions, or but she had the inverted crosses on her forehead. She had the whip. She came out of the schoolhouse as part of her presentation. So again, she could have been a screwed up headmistress or something like that. We don't know, but it was a cool concept.
Right. After Disasterina, we got Monique, who I still don't really know how she died. Just being honest.
I'm just gonna I think she was going for a little girl that had to draw water from the well all the time, and she's one of those residual haunts that has to repeat actions that they did in life, not necessarily death.
Right.
But it was still, yeah.
Then we get James Majesty, who also died from what I think is the plague. I don't know.
Lots and lots of little boils, so it could have been the plague or it could have been one of the STDs that were rampant. But yeah, there's not much.
Which is wild considering how well James did last week.
And how well James does, you know?
And then we've got Dali, who came in with the voodoo priestess
shaman, or as Kitty said, the Charmin, which is Kitty's one of my favorite judges. She is...
I don't know if Dali actually used Charmin as a part of...
I think they said that he did. I think that's because the Boulets had to clarify why she said that he was a Charmin versus a shaman.
But I remember Swan trying to correct her. She's like, "Oh no, honey.
Yeah,
I think you meant shaman." Now she never got the full sentence out, but she was trying to.
Yeah, and she was like, "No, I meant charming." Well, the toilet paper, because I guess some of the robes are TP. I don't know if it's the brand, but yeah. Looking fabulous, by the way.
Then we get Erica Clash, who's rocking an almost wolf look.
I would have gone more fox, Kitsune type thing, but again with the indigenous American vibe.
Right. And then we get, after Erica, we get Bitch Puddin'.
Drowning victim.
And then after Bitch Puddin', last but not least,
not least at all,
one of my favorite looks of all time, and it's not even just the look.
It's the whole setup.
I don't think...
So goddamn fabulous.
I don't think anyone has done something even close to similar since.
In terms of her gag, no. This is incredible.
The whole gag.
Yeah. Obviously...
I don't have a good picture of it because I couldn't get a good picture of her inside the box.
Right. Obviously, Victoria has created her own sets for the stuff, so we do get more of this kind of stuff, but not
like this.
Yeah, where Kitty's like, "You could have killed yourself," and Victoria's just kind of smiling at her like, "Yeah, sure."
So Victoria goes in. She is one of the fortune teller booths that you go up to, and they tell your fortune.
Electronic, you know. Animatronic, I guess I should say.
And they set it on fire. She set it on fire.
She said it. Well,
she's in it.
She is very obviously a burn victim. Like,
right.
It is obvious that it was torched at some point, but it's like but she set it on fire while she was in it. And then she's like dealing her cards, but like almost in a way that you feel like she's sending out, like shurikens or something like that. It's amazing. It was incredible.
Needless to say, we really like it.
Yeah. If we didn't geek out enough right there for you.
As a matter of fact, I think this was about the point when we initially started watching.
Our first watch through?
Our first watch through. The both of us were like, it's gonna be her or bitch.
It's her, yeah. No, at this point, I was still...
You were rooting for bitch.
I was rooting for bitch, but that was on a, very, personal level. But in terms of the competitors, I was like, oh my god, between the Cenobite look and this one... she's got it in the bank.
Victoria's killing this.
Yeah.
So then, that's the end of that. Now...
Then we get their judgments.
They have their deliberations amongst each other. I didn't come up with anything of note from that specific thing other than the Charmin joke that happened.
Right, which is my favorite quote, by the way, was Miss Kitty's... Charmin. But also she could have killed herself.
Yeah.
Because that happened when they were discussing it with just the three of them before they mentioned that was a very dangerous stunt. They're very collected by the time they're talking to Victoria, whereas Kitty was like, that was wildly dangerous. I loved it. I was like, and I like you.
Yes. So the people that go on to be the best in show, as I'm going to call it.
Right. The pedigreed ones.
Called up in order are Dolly, Victoria, and then Abora. And then they go on to give Victoria the win.
She should have gotten
rightfully.
It. Yes.
But they still critiqued her on not having anything about who Victoria is. And I'm like, this is it!
Victoria is the creative master of the universe. Just leave it at that.
Yes.
Craft magic. She's got craft magic.
But that was their only critique.
You
can't complain about anything else Victoria's done. She stayed out of drama.
You can't complain about her attitude. You can't complain about her show. She presents well. Obviously she looks amazing. She looks amazing without anything on, but some people just have it all,
Everyone else ends up for extermination, and
except for those three.
Except for those three. That's why I said everyone else.
Well, we were talking about Victoria specifically, so I wanted to make it.
Now, before they go into what the extermination is going to be, they go through and they give everybody critiques and allow people to talk and whatnot. We get a small blurb, and I think this is where a part of me, as much as I love this person, starts to get a little irritated. I love Disasterina, but this mentality of every week thinking she looks the best... I get this mentality of...
I don't think she's being... I think it's a joke, though. I think the attitude is a joke. Now, does she think she's bottom tier? No. But, I think it is part of her...
Do you think it's part of her play?
Yeah, I definitely do. Because, when she goes out in the Cenobite look and she's like, I thought I was going to win. I think Definitely.
I don't know. Well, I guess, so the Cenobite look, I feel like she could have. Because she was up there.
But it's just the way that she says it, too. It's not her, normal way of speech. It's her Disasterina speech. And I feel like anytime we actually get some insight into her and, her actual thoughts, she is herself, if that makes sense, versus her character.
And then...
I think she does it for comic relief. And I appreciate it.
Right. And then Bitch finally goes off.
Well, they asked Bitch how she felt that week. The Boulet brothers did. And she said, to be honest, I feel pretty shitty. I'm paraphrasing, but she's like, I feel pretty shitty. I came into this show thinking it was wildly appropriate, alt drag that was going to be an awesome competition. I was going to meet some awesome drag queens that actually did the kind of stuff I do. And I walked into them all against me from day one, like second one.
Which again, she's not wrong in saying, because if any of you guys that watched season one, it had a little bit of cattiness, but for the majority of the season,
they concentrated on the competition.
There were jabs thrown here and there, but there was a lot of playful stuff that happened too.
And a lot of the jabs were only made after they knew each other well enough that they were starting to fuck up with each other.
Right.
It wasn't based on, like, other than the treatment that Melissa B. Fierce got for being a glam queen before joining, none of it was based on preconceived notions of the drag queen without knowing them.
But please let it be known, this is what I've come to love about every season moving forward, is it gets cattier and cattier.
And I don't, because I think I have a very hard time, and this is not just in Dragula, this is everywhere. I have a very hard time with hypocrisy.
Oh, I do too.
And
I enjoy the cattiness, but it also makes me mad. Don't get it twisted.
It gets under my skin. It just does, and it's not like a personal thing or anything. I just have a very hard time watching it, because I'm just like, now normal cattiness, just like some of the barbs they throw at each other, or something like, I love that kind of stuff. I do not like it when it gets this kind of personal and everybody ganging up on bitch for something that's out of her control. When they start ganging up on other people in other seasons, it is normally because that person has done something that has pissed off the whole cast at Dragula, not preconceived notions.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, bitch does go on to do something here that does make me mad at her, and that's throwing Erica under the bus.
We'll get to that.
Because Erica is the one person who
but she doesn't
people.
do it yet. She doesn't do it yet is the thing. Like, so in this part of the discussion...
Is it not here?
No, in this part of the discussion, Erica backs up bitch in saying, because the Boulet brothers ask the group, is this true? Is everybody out for bitch's blood? And Erica says, yeah, actually they are, and I've tried to reel them back in.
Okay.
And
so then I'm confused. I thought it happened here.
No.
Then why does everyone go on to say that's why she should leave?
Because so after the elimination challenge, but before somebody is killed off, so nobody knows who's actually going to be eliminated yet, they're asked, who do you think is going to go home?
Then how would any of them know that she said Erica?
Well, the problem is, I think that part of the interview is actually done right then, because they're all in those outfits. But
I don't know, things seem weird.
But the thing is that the Boulet brothers, in this part that we're talking about right now, in their judgments, they point out that Erica is sort of bland this week. She's sort of bland, and then they point out somebody else, Monique, I think, as being just like subpar. And so when bitch is asked, she literally reiterates what the Boulets said. She doesn't say, I think Erica should go home because of X, Y, and Z. She says, I think Erica and so are going home because of what the Boulet brothers said. And then they lost their matches.
Right.
And then she's called out for not backing up Erica. And my problem with the whole goddamn thing is she picked the two people that were most likely to go home based on the Boulet brothers' judgment and the elimination challenge. It's not that she wasn't backing up Erica. It's just that's who was most likely going home. She didn't bad talk about Erica or anything. And I don't feel like that's a betrayal. I feel like that's just a very logical answer to a question.
Right.
But that's what they go off on.
Again, I didn't notice at any point personally where she said that. It just struck me as odd that everyone said she threw under the bus, so at some point I'd missed it.
That's exactly what happens, and unfortunately they take it as, oh, you said Erica should go home, you're not backing her up. And it's like, I feel like she picked it based on logic and the Boulet brothers' judgment. I don't think it was based on personal feelings.
Right.
Maybe they would have been happier if she had said, I unfortunately think Erica may go home based on this, but I don't want her to. Right. I don't know. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But
so, basically what the extermination challenge ends up being are paintball duels.
So great.
So great. Because usually, in most seasons moving forward, and even this early in this season, you'll get a handful of people that are considered the best, and one of them will win. And then you'll get a smaller handful of people that are safe. And they usually won't get critiques.
They'll just get sent backstage. They're
like, you guys are safe. Go on.
Yeah.
And which that typically makes the contestants mad, which I love. Mm-hmm. And then there's 2 or 3 at the end
that have to go
that face an elimination challenge. This one, it was everybody but the top 3.
There were 6 people that were in the elimination challenge.
And they did that because they needed duels.
Which was fabulous.
Okay. Our first duel is Erica versus Disasterina.
And it's great because they do make them stand back to back and then walk X number of paces away, and it's done well. It's done well.
Between the 2 of them, I don't have a winner in that specific duel. It's the only one I don't.
Erica lost, and it was just based on how many paintballs struck their target.
Oh, see, I was not considering at all, and I never will consider how many people got, how much somebody got shot. For me, it's all on attitude, right?
Yeah, it was just fun.
The 2 of them just had a good time, especially Disasterina. Disasterina's like giving the middle finger and just letting it go.
She's great.
And Erica's laughing along and shooting and not even mad about it.
But it was so great because it's just a moment in the competition that is competitive, but on the other side, they didn't have any personal problems with each other.
Right.
They're not trying to get rid of drama. They're just having fun, and it was fun to watch. And Dolly, Victoria, and Abora are standing on the sidelines watching. And laughing, having a good time,
The next matchup, which is entirely the most unfair matchup. And this
is hilarious.
This is of no one's fault at
They
all.
needed to do this because of how they needed to group them,
There is no way anyone
wants to go against Kendra.
That goes against Kendra in a paintball fight is going to win.
Any
There's not
weapons
one person
challenge.
in this group.
No weapons challenge. I wouldn't want to wrestle her.
But it's James Majesty versus Kendra Onyx. And Kendra
dominates.
Annihilator. We're talking, again, I had said earlier, I don't consider it based off of how many times they're shot, unless
the accuracy.
James was
I don't even know if I shot her
covered
once.
In paint.
But James goes, I don't even know if I shot her once. I closed my eyes at one point while I was shooting, and I was just sitting there like, they put the badass with the girliest glam girl. It is so great, and just the reactions, and Kendra's just like, don't mess with me, honey.
Kendra's like, you got me in the leg once, and it
bleeding. Started oozing.
She called it ooze. Leaking. She called it leaking.
Leaking. It's leaking. So after it started leaking,
after she started bleeding, she went off.
But she got her once, guys. Once. And James was covered.
And then Bitch Puddin' goes up against Monique. And here's what cracks me up about this. This is the person Bitch needed to go up against out of everyone that was available. Because Monique, out of the group,
she's been giving Bitch a hard time.
Is the one that's been giving Bitch the biggest issue. James being a close second.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. They are giving her
my problem
grief,
here,
but it's not the personal grief that Abora would have been.
My problem here is I would much rather it have been Bitch versus Abora. This would have been
100%.
This would have been a perfect time.
Although here's the thing. So I feel like because Bitch has such respect for Abora, although it is diminishing as this continues.
Right.
I feel like had she been in the position to hit Abora, it almost, I think, would have been emotionally and maybe mentally a bit more of a struggle than it was with Monique, because she doesn't have a back history, personal history with Monique. Monique is just a bully.
Right.
And same with James. If she had gotten paired with either of them, they're just bullies. And so I think it is actually good for her right now, because I don't think that she has dealt personally with this situation enough, like mentally processed it enough to actually take it out on Abora. But Monique makes a really good target. Yeah.
Now
it's so good.
This is the time where they ask everyone who they think should go home. And
I think you should point out she gets Monique right
in the face,
right in the kisser.
I'm sorry, I did gloss over that. Bitch actually won.
100%
won.
Yeah.
Was not
Monique
even
hit her a couple times, but Bitch is standing there like this, like, oh yeah, baby, oh yeah. And then when it's her turn, Monique's like, I'm not gonna need lip filler after this.
Yeah.
And they're all purple already. It was, and they're wearing face guards.
Right.
It was through the face guard.
Everyone is asked who they think should go, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Everybody says bitch. Everyone except for bitch, and bitch said she thinks it's going to be Erica and whoever else.
Monique or Erica, yeah.
And this gave me vibes. I remember watching it with you for the first time. This gave me vibes of season 1,
where they
all said, Loris.
Yeah.
And I almost
bitch
thought...
wasn't Loris.
Well, I almost thought we were about to get another double elimination because we were pretty sure Monique was going to go. We were like, Monique was just unimpressive. Completely unimpressive. But I thought, just like with last season, everybody's saying bitch. Like, literally, there's not one person that says any other name.
Except for, I feel like the Boulets took into consideration that Loris was a pain in everybody's side. Like, that was the reason they wanted to send her home. And it was later in the competition, and she was still a pain in the ass.
Right.
Whereas with bitch, they were all like, oh, she reused her face. She reused her face. But, what they forgot, bitch was hands down told she had the best act. She was the best actress that time. Like, she scared the horses. Like, they got filming of this and, like, dragging herself. And everybody, well, I mean, the 3 judges absolutely loved her presentation. And she sold it. So, did she look facially like a drowning victim? No. Did she sell it? Yes. And so, I don't think they were going to send her home based on how she did with that. How she did handling the bullying situation. How she did in the competition. And I really think that everyone it was sort of an easy answer.
Right.
They didn't have to really judge looks but there were a couple other people that were like, well, I kind of think this, but bitch. And bitch gave 2 answers, Erica being one of them. And again, like I said before, she did specify that based on what the Boulet brothers said and everything, I think this is what's going to happen. She didn't put personal, like, everybody else was like, oh, she reused her face, and bitch is just like... Unfortunately, I think it's these 2.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, we were thankfully wrong. I was thankfully wrong in thinking that...
I would have been so mad.
Originally that we were getting 2 eliminations. Monique ends up being the only one that dies. And it was in an extremely creative way. And honestly, the more I think about it, the
kitten was so cute.
It's the only way they could have done it.
Halloween vibes, you mean?
Somebody put on one of Monique's spare masks that were sitting at a table. One of the
Designer.
Designer. Yeah. And you get the classic original Halloween walking like Michael Myers and then approaching Monique and then stabbing of Monique. And it was really well done. And then we get this adorable little kitten who's watching it all happen.
And you see the Boulets' claws, like, and they're just playing with the kitten, and the kitten's like, oh, it's so cute.
Yes, it is quite adorable.
It was a little odd, the setup that they chose. I don't know Monique's personal, like, vibe at home, her aesthetic. But, like, this vibe was very, like, nursery. They had the music box going with a lullaby. They had... it was a very pastel room. They had the little vanity, and Monique is literally the only dark spot in the room in terms of, like, the colors she's wearing. Everything else is white or light pink or, you know, and it was just kind of like, makes you wonder, is she a bubblegum goth at home?
Right. All right, so that brings us to
our rankings.
Our ranking screen and a chance.
And
for me
there's
to take
poor
my mask off
Felony.
for a little bit. Poor Felony, who died too soon. Died too soon. All right. I don't remember who I have starting it off. Let me see here. Oh, me. Okay. So, my number 9. Number 9. I don't even need this, to be honest, because they're written on the screen. My number 9 is Monique. Reason being, I feel of all of the people here that we run yet again into Monique doing something that is just far too plain.
Yeah, she thinks her mask is going to sell it.
But the problem is the mask doesn't even really look that great this time. Last week's mask
was amazing. This is very bland.
Every time she's been interviewed backstage for these things, her mask has been super dope because it's got the maggots that are crawling out of the eye hole, and it looks super dope. Yeah. This looks like she's just wearing a fucking sock puppet on her fucking face.
Well, we watched her do the makeup on it, and honestly, she didn't do anything. Like, she did contouring, she did blush. She didn't do anything that most people wouldn't do their face normally.
Right. So I just wasn't a big fan of anything she did with the mask. It looked like she just threw on a fucking old Western evening gown.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that the Boulet brothers had said is if she was perpetually going to be having to carry water, then why isn't her dress water stained, sweat stained? I mean, there's just, yeah, she didn't have the pieces necessary. Yeah,
I feel like she came into this competition
thinking she was a steal,
thinking she was a shoe-in.
Yeah,
she was like, this mask is going to get me through everything. I'll be able to just draw whatever designs on it, put some stuff on it to, kind of accentuate some things. And I don't have to worry about anything else that's going on. Yeah. And it's just not true. No. Like, everything, her mask looked killer in the first episode. Everything else she has done except for her interview look has been very subpar. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at. So your number 9
was Abora. I get the concept of the black and white cartoon Western burglar. I just don't like it. I hate it, in fact. It does not strike me as a Western haunt. I don't know. I just don't like it, guys.
It's okay. We know you just have an aversion to Bora.
I do too, but honestly, like, I don't see how this really fits. I don't know. So my number 8 was Monique, and for the same reasons. Like, she threw on a nightie, she braided a wig, and she contoured a mask. That is all she did. And then to hear the Boulet brothers and Kitty say that she didn't sell the look during her performance, and that her performance was lacking. And then their critiques about, like, where are the sweat stains, where are the water stains, like, just any little tiny things that would, like, develop your character further or prove to us that you are this character. Hearing them have those complaints, that's a no-go for me.
Right. My number 8 is James Majesty. You guys are going to notice most of my bottom half are any of them that came in wearing white dresses.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
Dressed in white.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. You have an aversion.
But also, I don't know what the story was behind this.
Yeah, honestly, she kind of struck me as just a Victorian woman that probably ended up with either measles or, like, obviously it was some disease that caused bumps.
Or maybe she was a prostitute
and it's an STD.
And it's an STD that's killed her.
But the problem was that she was very laced up to be a prostitute. Like, she didn't have a hiked up skirt. Like, there was no indication that was her job. She really did look like she was a Victorian lady that lived there, which her dress and shoes would have been in style, but they're pristine.
Right. And honestly, it's a bummer to see James at the bottom of this list. Regardless of how I would ever feel about her attitude towards other people. Oh,
she's an amazing artist.
Her look when she first shows up, and then what she did with the first week of...
Honestly, this look is beautiful. It's just not much...
And this look looks good. Yeah, it's just not... I don't know how it relates
to
the competition.
Honestly, even the, like... I want to say, like, little boils on her face are placed in a... You could tell that she's used to placing, like, rhinestone stud type things. So she's very artistic, and her stuff is gorgeous, and the way she moves is gorgeous. It's just the look.
My number 7 is Disasterina.
She's in white.
And she's in white.
Funny. Funny thing.
This one again just goes to so what you can see, kind of can't see in this picture because it's kind of a smaller picture, is her acting of that of her scene was basically her spinning in circles, smacking herself with a riding crop.
I took it as she was smacking the babies in her skirt with a riding crop.
It could have been. Yeah. Babies or herself. Regardless, I still was kind of confused.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it's an absolute... Like, overall, again, it's a good look. Disasterina looks great.
Right.
I just don't know how...
It applies.
This look applied to the actual challenge.
Right. Right.
You guys are going to laugh because actually one of the looks I like the least is in my top 3 just because I feel like they actually nailed more of the challenge than what other people did.
Yeah, we did have a kind of a hard time this week in terms of feeling like they got the true vibe of the challenge. This
reminds me of, what was the challenge in season 1 that we were like, we felt almost nobody, the zombie one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
This was this season's
and that was also
challenge.
Out in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You desert people.
Right. Obviously, they don't do the locations.
All right. Your number 7 is...
James Majesty. Again, she looks gorgeous, but she's not really... There's no story for me. There's no story. It's just a look. So my number 6 is Erica. And this is probably my favorite makeup look on her. I think it's the one where, even though it's stylistically, still Erica is so much more different from her norm. And I don't think she strays far from that norm ever. So I really appreciate this look on her. But it's very basic. And again, you're not sure of the story. You know that she is some... wildlife, and it honestly looks more like she killed something than she is deceased herself.
Right.
And since it's supposed to be haunts, I felt like she needed to prove to me that she was deceased. I don't see rib cage. I don't see anything on the face. Like, I just see blood that I would assume is a wolf having just had a meal. Right. Yeah.
My number 6 is Dolly. This for me is what the zombie shaman was for you. I think this is one of the best overall looks
of this
specific week's competition. I don't see the death.
The white face doesn't do it for you. You just...
No, because shamans would do that.
Be a ceremonial thing. Exactly.
And that was my only thing. If she would have done something where you could tell exactly how she died.
Now, potentially she did during her actual show, and we didn't see it.
Right.
I'm just saying. But in terms of what we did see and this look, I can understand where you're coming from.
But yeah, so that's my number 6. There's our bottom 6 for you guys. Moving on.
Well, our bottom 4.
Our bottom 4.
Yeah, but
6 to 9. Top 5.
All right.
My number 5 is Bitch Puddin', which is funny because that's your number 5.
Yep.
And I feel like, again, now this one, it was something different. She looks dead.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that she died doing what she's doing.
Oh, yeah.
My problem is she doesn't look like she died in the way she's telling people she died.
Right.
It's a good look. And
facially.
And here's the thing.
I would say she could have pulled off with, like, the hair and the costume a drowning victim. But yeah, facially, she's not bloated or, you know.
And I just feel like, again, I'm not one of those people... Yeah, I am. I'm going to be one of those people because I'm going to do it like when we get around to season 6 or 5, whatever the last season was. 5. I don't like reused looks.
Yeah.
I never have. Orgotic does it to an insane amount and it drives me batty.
Right. Now, I don't feel like her face looks the same as it did.
It doesn't look the exact same, but you can tell it's the same flaking style. Right, it's just all she painted it. Or spray brushed it or whatever.
I mean,
whatever
she did change it up, thank God.
Right.
But yeah. She's my number 5 for a lot of the same reasons. But again, she does fit for the competition. And the clips that we saw of her acting were
amazing.
Goddamn amazing. But then to hear between the three judges that she was one of the best in terms of her presentation, and that even though her face might not have looked like a drowning victim, she convinced them that she was a drowning victim by the time she finished. And then being so proud of her for scaring the horse. I felt so bad for the horses, by the way. Too. But the fact that her just crawling around on the ground terrified them. So, yeah, she got average. Dead middle.
And then your 4 and my 4 were the same as well.
Kendra, yeah. So, again, Kendra did tell a story. You can tell that she was going for the plague here. I loved the plague rats. I loved them.
Little albino rats are so adorable.
Oh, but they were hairless,
I won't say
too.
Little. They were big. They were big albino rats.
No, they were an average-sized pet rat, but they were hairless. And they were so cute and so well, behaved. I loved her wig, her face, and that. I will say that I felt like from waist down, it was a little lackluster. And then the judges all said that her presentation was sort of lacking. Like, they enjoyed seeing the rats, but on the other hand, it limited Kendra in what she was able to do physically.
Right. My number 3 is Abora. This is one I agreed a lot with the Boulet's take on her look, in that I definitely think it's the creepiest look out of everyone this
I'll
week.
give her that. She's like a little goblin.
But one of the things I love so much about it is it harkens back for me to playing one of my probably favorite horror video games in the last... I mean, I personally played it. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. It's a game called Bendy's Ink Machine.
Oh, I've seen some of that, yeah.
And that's what her look actually reminded me of in the overall look-wise.
Yeah, definitely.
I can see that she's trying to be a ghost, and obviously it's more in a comical fashion. It's very, I would almost say Disney villain-esque like.
And
very,
I would have said like the original Disney back when
right.
Mickey Mouse looked like a scary, freaky rat. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I got out of it. That's why she got up to my number 3. Your number 3
was Disasterina. And again, I kind of like the story that's going on here. And it doesn't really matter to me if they were her own children or if she was the house marm for the schoolhouse. The whip kind of implies to me that she was a school something because there's a whole punishment aspect to it. She's got her face like powdered so she looks dead. She's got the upside down crosses on her, which tell me that she was not a good person in life with these children. And I thought it was unique. I like the way her brain thinks, but the outfit fits the style for the Old West. She looks like she's haunted. Overall, I thought this was a very unique concept and I enjoyed it.
Your number 2
would be Dolly. I have met some shamans.
And they do not look like
No.
that.
And they don't look like that. Now, at least, they're not wearing ceremonial garb all the time. However, she pulled it off for me. Like, in terms of actually viewing her as a deceased, haunting the land that actually belonged, or like that she belonged to, is how the indigenous people would have phrased that. Like, and just sort of being like the spirit, the restless spirit that wanders around,
Right. My number 2 is Ms. Erica Clash. One of the things that I had pointed out when we were talking about the show yesterday was I didn't see this as her trying to be herself dead. Like, she died and came back, which is probably, honestly, almost in direct violation of the rules.
Well, and as far as we're concerned, yeah.
But I seen it as more of like a coyote or dog-like creature who has come back from the dead.
Right. That's why I wanted to see some rib cage or something.
I feel like we would have been in a shitty situation and not been able to see it regardless if she did have something going on with her.
But I think the Boulet brothers would have brought it up.
Right. But a lot of her movements during her actual presentation and stuff showed more of like a possessed animal.
Okay.
Who was swaying and hovering around, and
I would have classified her as a rabid animal.
A rabid animal.
Yeah. Close to death, but not quite. Yeah.
Now, the one thing we absolutely agreed on, and you guys should have been able to tell from the beginning, or when we first talked about it.
Obviously, we also agreed on our 4 and 5s.
Right.
But, yeah.
Is...
Ms. Black takes the win.
Victoria Black.
And I'm so glad she did get the win this time.
This was 2 weeks in a row for us.
That she should have won. At
least this time she did.
Yeah.
And... absolutely loved the look, loved the presentation. I love
the gags.
The danger that she put herself through just
to show this look.
To show this look off. Like, she took the time, guys, to build a set and even had a custom-made sign that had her name on it.
Yeah. Readings just today or something like that. It was amazing.
She created a story.
With the set. And then, being a burn victim, she burned it.
Yeah. She actually showed you how she died. She didn't just imply that's how she died. No. She showed you.
And she's like, unfortunately, I am stuck in this loop.
It was just an amazing look, and you guys are going to get tired moving forward, if I remember correctly, of how much we praise both Victoria and Bitch moving forward. They're going to consistently be two of the top 3 week in and week out, and James.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, personality-wise, things actually get better in a less toxic manner going forward.
Right.
So. All right. So that is our ranking.
Let us know how you would rank them down below.
Right. But yeah, it was an incredible episode.
Very good.
And then it was a shitty episode.
It was.
It took me high and then it sent me low.
I've got big balls.
Swinging.
No, it was it was definitely a good episode. Do not get me wrong, I am going to enjoy next week's episode. Next week's episode we are going to be covering the Monsters of Rock.
And like we said, this is the one time that he actually enjoys that competition.
I won't say one time. I feel like, if I remember correctly, it was in season 4, which was the first season that we watched. I think. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Let me check real quick. Go away, crook. Let me see. I gotta remember where there's my apps. There's my Shutter.
I would never tell Crooked Eye to go away. King Crook to you.
Season 4. There's the Nosferatu Beach Party, which I'm excited. Yeah, Monsters of Rock. They do it in season 4 as well, which is funny. That means Dolly got to do it twice.
Yeah, it was his favorite competition.
So, yeah, this is Drag Monsters of Rock is what we're gonna do. I'm pretty sure I liked season 4. It was the first time we'd seen it, and I was like, "Oh, this is super cool."
All right.
We go back and watch through from the beginning.
Right. So and season 1 sucked.
Season 1, did they do the Drag Monsters? I don't remember it. Maybe
no, they did the wrestling.
Okay, they did the wrestling. Season 2 did obviously we're about to do Drag Monsters of Rock, and I think it becomes a season staple moving forward.
It's one of the Boulet brothers' favorites.
But it's one of the ones that
either they do right or goes vastly wrong.
I definitely love forcing people into working together as a team that otherwise wouldn't.
I know, because you are sadistic in that capacity. I like the concept of forcing them to work together. I do not like watching the cattiness that
everything
occurs.
fall apart.
Like, yeah.
However, I feel, I don't know, it's... that everyone always... It's a drag show, so everyone in these rock shows end up looking like members of Kiss.
Yeah, they do. But... they are told 80s.
Yeah,
so
and maybe that's where my problem
big hair, is.
Is when you go 80s immediately, it's like, well, you got to do Kiss. That's really the only band that really did this type of look back in the 80s, except for maybe Guar.
Nah, I mean, because you could do. There's so much out of the 80s because it was all big hair, it was all tight clothing.
Baby, I know that. There's tons of bands they could emulate, but it's monsters of rock.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, like, they could go with that and something completely different in terms of aesthetics for their face. What
I would love to see out of a monsters of rock thing, if they're going to continue to do this, I'm cool with keep the 80s aesthetic, do the big hair, stuff like that, whatever. Look like monsters, though. Come out looking like werewolves.
Literal monsters,
got
it.
Yeah, monsters of rock. Like, could you imagine somebody coming
out
dressed up as a werewolf, but it's all permed? Like, all the hair is permed on the werewolf? It would be hilarious.
All of a sudden, they start singing, "We do the mash. We do the monster mash."
There's a movie called Monster Mash coming out this year.
That's cool. I'll watch it. But yeah, like, I could see that would be funny.
For me, it's just a bunch of Kiss impersonators. That's what I see every team. Every season that they do it, and I'm just like, it looks cool.
I'm bored,
but it's kind of boring to me.
Yeah,
it was cool the first time. The very first time.
This one,
4,
however,
like,
is
oh
amazing.
God.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Although I will say, I do love when everything falls apart for people.
Well, or watching somebody like Neo, like, who cannot play the guitar, does not even know how to play the guitar. Like that's funny.
Is it
don't care who you are.
Season 3, which is the one that has the lady that we don't like, and they pull the things out of her face early, and it causes this whole situation to occur.
And the sad thing is that she is a performance artist. So
she's the absolute worst.
Well, but she's a performance. Like, you're supposed to know that shit always goes wrong with a live performance.
Always.
And it's always something different.
And you have to learn how to... There's always one rule with any performance. And that is...
shit will go wrong if it can.
The show must go on.
Right. You have to learn how to improvise on the spot.
Right. And it's
anyway, but a lot of crap goes wrong in these group contests. So
well, and that's I blame the Boulets for that. I say blame in the most wonderful term.
They group the girls that are going to get along the
purposefully.
least. Yeah. It's fun. I agree with that part. I do agree with that part. I feel like,
except for one season, they had. I want to say they had team captains, and they took turns.
They always have team captains.
No.
Oh, they actually got to pick. I just like, I enjoy it, but then I feel like they film the cattiness almost to the point that it's too long for me. I just want to know what shit went wrong. Right. I don't need the play-by-play.
But anyways, so that's next week. Monsters of Rock.
Yes.
Drag Monsters of Rock.
Yes. But this was fun. And I am so glad that Victoria took the win this time, because she absolutely deserved it. I don't really think there's anybody that would contest that. And I wish Kitty would come back more frequently, because I don't know that Miss Kitty ever comes back to judge again. She may come back in another season once, but I don't think so.
I don't remember.
And I do enjoy her quite a bit.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so that's going to do it. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye-bye. Ta-ta.